Thank you, Ivy, and thank you, Bushara, Vandana, Elisa, Aizrat, who was in the video. It's a great honor to be part of this panel alongside women like you, who bring such meaningful ideas and powerful projects. So I'm very happy. And I will ask Kiyoshi to help me with the presentation I have, just to share some pictures with you. As I was introduced, I'm the founder and the executive director of Instituto Aurora for Human Rights Education, which is a Brazilian NGO founded in 2018. And since then, our mission is to promote and defend human rights education in Brazil. You can change to next slide, please. Kyoshi, thank you. And what we do is aligned with the 2030 agenda. All our projects are aligned with the agenda. You can change, please. And over the next few minutes, I'd like to share 3 key lessons from the work we have been doing, which show how human rights education can drive gender equality in Brazil using both educational programs and advocacy strategies. And the first essential point for me to begin this presentation is to remember that the group we call women is diverse, with many groups in it. We differ in race, class, sexual orientation, disability, religion, and we must address intersectionality. While many of us experience common forms of violence and rights violations, each woman lives these experiences in a unique way. So the first lesson I'd like to share is understanding these differences is fundamental for human rights education to have a real and lasting impact. You can change, please, Kiyoshi. You can change once more. And as an example, I'd like to highlight the project called Mine, Yours, Our Vote, created by women from different organizations in Brazil and focused on first-time young voters. This project is being held in a context of polarization, us versus them idea, and also a movement to discourage young people from engaging in political participation, especially girls and women. So the project emphasizes that politics is also women's business, is also women's issue, that we need more feminist women in power, and that voting is an individual act and right with collective impact. And I'd like to share with you the story of these 2 young women, both named Gabriela. The first one, a girl from a low-income neighborhood, daughter of a Black mother and sister to an autistic boy, believed voting didn't change anything. But over the course of the project, she realized that if more people like her, or like her family, who care about those realities were in power, maybe society could be different. So she decided to vote. And the second, Gabriela, a white girl from a wealthy background, already valued her vote, but believed she should vote based on her own interests. And during the project, she came to understand that voting should also consider the needs of others, especially the most vulnerable. And she said during the project that voting with others in mind is not charity. And she is right, it's not. What we see here is that the same project, designed with these girls' different backgrounds in mind, led them to different reflections, but to a shared purpose. And transformations like these only happen when the methodology, mostly in small groups, from what our experience is showing us, creates a deep emotional and social awakening about oneself, about others, and about who we are as a society. And this brings me to the second lesson I'd like to share. Please, Kiyoshi. How we teach matters, especially when it comes to sensitive topics like human rights and gender. Human rights education is not just content, like many women here said. It's a practice that invites people to truly see one another, to recognize and celebrate differences. And this emotional awakening must be supported by methodologies that supports it. At Instituto Aurora, we use methods that prioritize dialogue, active listening and the sharing of life stories. This has helped many participants, in their own words, to step outside their bubbles, feel seen, gain confidence to talk about sensitive topics, or finally name what they didn't know how to articulate. And another example I'd like to share is the project called Reconnect. Please, Kyoshi, you can change, which aims to prevent extreme violence against schools. So in Brazil, over the past decade, we have seen the rise of the far right here in our country. Along with it, a rise in hate speech, especially online and targeting women and minorities. Many extremist groups have focused on recruiting boys and not girls. This is important to say. And this violence often migrates from the internet and shows up in schools, where most teachers are women in our case. Many teachers report feeling afraid to address topics such as gender or sexuality in class, especially under political and religious pressure to silence these discussions. Our strategy is to support teachers, helping them build confidence and equipping them to recognize signs of radicalization so they can act to prevent it. We provide both in-depth materials that explain the big picture and also practical resources, such as a conversation guide and a glossary. And I want to emphasize that we need to take care of our girls and our boys when we talk about human rights education and gender equality. The narratives of hate being presented to these boys as an answer to their insecurities must be countered with real alternatives for belonging and meaning. And a critical, effective human rights education can offer a path to this, in our opinion. In this project, we partner with universities and other NGOs here in Brazil. Currently, we are working in collaboration with Brazil's Ministry of Education on a reissue of the glossary with the goal to distribute to schools across the country to support teachers. And here are some pictures of trainings in person, online, and some of materials. And I'd like to share right now the third lesson. You can change, thank you. The third lesson I'd like to share is that lasting cultural change only happens via networks. And that's why we participate in coalitions dedicated to promoting human rights, defending human rights education as a public policy, and advancing the gender equality agenda in Brazil. I believe it's important that we see networks as spaces for learning, where we can learn from one another about our rights and come to understand the struggles of groups we are not part of. We co-founded and actively participate in the Alliance for Women, a coalition of organizations and experts from across the country, including women living in the Amazon region, in the countryside, all working together to end violence against women. And within this coalition, we coordinate the Knowledge Working Group, which has already produced a guide on psychological violence against women directed at Brazil's National Congress as an advocacy tool. And recently, we held a meeting with more than 50 women from all regions of Brazil. And the goal was to identify priorities for the women's agenda and present them to the federal government during a national conference. You can change the slide, please. And out of 6 proposals developed, 5 focused on education. The inclusion of gender in the school's curriculum, gender literacy for members of the National Congress, and training for judges to conduct trials via a gender-sensitive lens. So human rights education truly is a way to advance gender equality. This is what we are saying, sharing here. And these Brazilian women are affirming this too, are saying that we need to focus on human rights education to advance this agenda of gender equality. And to conclude, I believe that to successfully drive cultural change with human rights education, we need first dialogue, always dialogue with society and with decision makers to foster empathy, to bridge, to build bridges between our distance. Second, to work in networks, because change only comes from cooperation with a shared purpose. And third, courage, to dream of the world we want to build, that it's not there already, but it can be. So thank you for your attention.
I love it. I love the words that you ended with, Michelle, with dialogue, network, and courage, especially with that courage at the end.